Now that our document is formatted in MLA style, we're going to take a look at the Works Cited page in MLA style. Just as a reminder, sources consulted, read, or researched during your researching process, but not cited in the body of your essay, do not need to be included on your Works Cited list. Only include sources that have been cited in the body of your essay, quoted, paraphrased, or summarized with an in-text citation. We're going to look at several different types of sources to show you what it would look like on a Works Cited page. Let's start with a book source. The book we're going to use for our sample essay is entitled Stiff, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers by Mary Roach. We'll be able to find all of the information we need on the cover or title page, as well as the copyright page. On the copyright page, we're primarily looking for the copyright year. In this instance, the year is 2003, along with the publisher name. And in this instance, the publisher is Norton. So we will take the information we need and start placing it on our Works Cited list. Every citation begins with the author's last name, comma, author's first name, period, as often as authors' names are given. We'll talk about sources without authors in a few minutes. So it would look like this. For a book source, the next piece of information we include is the title of the book. Now, in the 8th edition of the MLA Handbook, the Modern Language Association specifies that containers or places of publication should be italicized. A book is considered a container or a place where information is published, so it will be italicized. Other examples of containers would be the name of a magazine, the name of a journal, the name of a website that publishes articles, etc. It would look like this. The next piece of information we need for our citation is the name of the publisher. In the 8th edition of the MLA Handbook, remember that not all information is needed, not as much information as in previous editions. So instead of including the city where the publisher is located, we are just going to skip straight to the publisher name, comma, the year of publication or the copyright date, period. Now this citation does not fall onto a second line, but sources formatted on the Works Cited list sometimes take up more than one line, and to indicate that the information being included is still part of the same source, we typically left justify the first line of the source and indent by a ½ inch all other subsequent lines of the source. We can't see it in this source, but we will see it in other sources. So let's go ahead and set it up so that our page will automatically indent any subsequent lines in additional sources. The easiest way to do this is using the ruler tool. If you cannot see the ruler right here, come up to the tab marked View, click on it, and then right over here where it says Ruler, make sure the box is checked so that you will see your ruler. Next, you will click and drag the bottom half of the ruler tool to a ½ inch to show that any subsequent lines should be indented by a ½ inch. Like so. So let's move on to our next source. Let's look at an article or story included in an anthology or a collection. Similar to a regular book, we will need the information from the title page as well as the copyright page, and then we also need to know the specific author for the article we're citing and the title of the article that we're citing. In this case, we're going to use Among Us by Amy Bender. On our Works Cited page, we will include the last name and first name of the author we're citing. In this case, Amy Bender, followed by the name of the article, Among Us, which will be in quotation marks. Next, we include the name of the book it is published in, which would be the container, followed by edited by and the editor's name. The next piece of information is the publisher's name and year of copyright, just as in a regular book. Finally, since this is a shorter article in a larger collection, you'll want to include the specific page numbers of the article that you're citing. Note the PP before the page numbers to indicate that there's more than one page. It's a range of pages. If the article you're citing is only on one page, you will only include one P period, and the number of the page. In this case, it's a range of pages, more than one page, so we include PP period. Also note that because we set up our page to indent on subsequent lines, we have our hanging indent. The second line of our citation is indented by 1/2 inch. Another common source is a journal article. Similar to a book, we will include the author's name and the title of the article, and the place of publication or the container in this instance would be the journal name. The formatting will be similar to our previous source with an article in a book. We will begin with the author's last name and the title of the article in quotation marks. Next comes the name of the journal, italicized to indicate our place of publication or container, followed by the volume number specified by including VOL period, then issue number specified using NO period. Next, include the year of publication or the date of publication. If it's quarterly journals sometimes are specified using seasons, spring 2010, fall 2016. Whatever information you have for the date, this is where the date is included. In this case, all we have is the year, but if there's a specific day or month or season, include whatever information you have. And then the specific page numbers of the article, similar to our previous source. Since we found this journal article online, we will include the specific web URL, the website address where we obtained the article. The MLA handbook does not require that you include a date of access, but it is suggested. For my students, I always prefer that you include your access date. It protects you. That way, if any information has changed or updated since you've researched the information online, I can see that as of the date that you accessed it, the information was correct as far as you know. So please do include the date of access. Our next source is an article found online. We have an author, we have an article title, we have a specific date, and in this case, our container or place of publication is the name of the website, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. If we know an author's name, always start your citation with the author's last name and first name, followed by the name of the article in quotation marks. Then include the container name, which is a website name in this instance. Then the date, and we have the whole date, so we will include day, month, year, followed by the specific web URL and the date of access. These are great examples if you have all of the information But what if you have a source you want to use that does not include all of the information? Which information do we include and how do we format it? For this source, we have an author name, an article title, a container, which is the website name, but there's no date. How do we include information from this source on our Works Cited page? Essentially, you're just going to skip over the information you don't have. If you don't have it, just don't include it on your Works Cited. As in previous citations, we will start with the author's last name, first name, article title, in quotation marks. Followed by the container, the name of the website, in italics. Typically, we would include the date next, but since we have no date, we'll skip right over it and move on to the website URL, which I am just copying and pasting from the website. Finally, include the date of access if your instructor requires it. Sometimes we find articles without a specific author named, or in a lot of cases, students will want to include a definition in their essay to further explain part of their essay. In those instances, if no author is given, we'll skip over the author's name and start with the article title or the word being defined. As in previous sources, article titles, or in this case, a word being defined, will be enclosed in quotation marks. Since we have no author, we'll begin our citation that way, with the article title or the word being defined. Next comes the container, the name of the journal, the name of the magazine. In this instance, it will be the name of the dictionary, and if a date is included, include the date after your container. For online sources, specifically dictionaries, we do not have a specific date, so we'll skip over the date. And we'll move on to the specific web URL. And then include the date of access if required. These days, a lot of good information can be found in documentaries or YouTube videos, as long as they are considered reliable sources. Do double check your sources and make sure they are reliable. For our sample essay, we are going to include a clip from Doomsday Preppers to show you what a video on a works cited list would look like. The MLA handbook is a little flexible on the information included. If you're not sure, please ask your instructor. It's never wrong to err on the side of caution and include additional information. Most of our information will be found right here on the YouTube website. We will be using the title, Doomsday Preppers, Episode 1. We need the published date, June 10th, 2014, and we're going to include the name of the person who uploaded it or their handle. And in this case, because it was an actual TV show, I'm also going to include the director name. So let's take all of that information and look at it on our works cited list. For a source of this type, we will begin our citation with the title of the work or the title of the video, Doomsday Preppers Episode 1. Next, we will include the director's name, specified by directed by, and then the director's name. We found the video on YouTube, so in this case, YouTube will be your container or place of publication. We will specify the name or handle of the person who uploaded it, uploaded by, and then include the name, and the date the video was uploaded on YouTube. Next comes the specific web URL, followed by the date of access if required. These are all the sources we're going to include on our Works Cited page, under the assumption that they all have been cited at least once in the body of your essay. However, once we have them formatted on the Works Cited page, We also need to list them alphabetically according to the author's last name or the first word of the citation. For instance, Apocalypse has no author name, but it begins with an A, so we will alphabetize it according to its A. Same for Doomsday, Doomsday Preppers. It has no specific author, so we will alphabetize it according to the D. Once your works cited list has been formatted and alphabetized according to author's last name or the first word of the citation, it should look something like this. And you have completed your works cited list.